Hello and welcome to the Oyster Live. Joining me is Edward Zia. Ed is a marketing mentor and coach who loves to help entrepreneurs get more clients, more money, and more time. Ed, thank you so much for joining me.
And thank you, Lauren. It's a pleasure being here, and I'm just so pumped to be in front of your wonderful audience for this auspicious occasion.
So, Ed, to start with, you've had it tough, right? You've had pretty amazing background. Can you tell us a bit about your story?
Oh, well, very, very long version short here. Awesome, Lauren. So I've been, so, came from a working class background. When I was 19, I went off and joined the army, which was
Mm-hmm.
incredible. Very, very long time ago in the Australian Army. And what happened in there is that I was very lucky to do well in the Australian Army, and I was seconded to special projects with the federal government. I was based in Canberra doing all this cool stuff. And then what happened later on is I got injured very badly, and that ended my military career. And lo and behold, I went back to uni, studied what I was doing, and I ended up going into marketing of all
Uh-huh.
things. It was a long, convoluted story, but I used to be a marketing director. I used to be the marketing director of Rest Point Casino on Hobart. And about 10 years ago, I came to Sydney, started again, and I started my business in my early 30s, which is helping awesome entrepreneurs with their sales and marketing and coaching them. And I love it.
So I'm amazed at how quickly you sum that up. And as we've talked about before, you don't mince your words.
No.
you're a, you're a straight shooter.
Yes. Hell no. Hell no.
And I think we're quite opposite in that way because I was saying to you, like, I am very verbose. I love speaking, and I do kind of sometimes go around in circles a little bit, Ed, to be honest with you. Um,
Who doesn't? So do I. Who doesn't?
so um, I do I think that I want to dig into this story a little bit more because, like you said, marketing of all things, like, coming from being out in battle to choosing marketing, what made you kind of go down that path?
Well, it's funny actually. When I finished, I got injured in the military, medical discharge, and after I was injured, I really, couldn't continue in the military. And what it was, I actually went back to university and actually studied chemistry of all
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was fascinating about this experience, I just want to say hello to our incredible viewers, by the way. Great having you all here. Thank you for seeing a few reactions and comments. Thank you. What was actually fascinating about this experience, Lauren, was that I went back to uni, um, graduated my degree in chemistry. I actually went to work for a chemical company,
Mm.
and they could see potential in me, and they took me out of the laboratory and they stuck me out on the road selling to customers. So
Uh-huh.
when I was like in my early 20s, I had Qantas, Boeing, the Royal Australian Air Force as customers, and it was incredible. I even had Ansett. This is a very long time ago, mind you, right? I'm talking about Ansett here, and it was just such an amazing life. And that's what happened to me. I ended up going into marketing from a technical sales point of view, and I just
Mm.
fell in love with marketing. And then I started doing I did a postgrad in marketing at Monash University, and I just fell in love with marketing and just naturally went in that direction, Lauren.
Mm. It's interesting because I think with sales and with marketing, right? Like, so my background, I was like on the sort of the team that I guess tried to bridge the two. So,
Oh, yeah.
well, it was also editorial as well. So we had the sales people that were sort of supporting, the marketing people who were supporting, and then the editorial team, which didn't like us because we were in content marketing and sponsored content, right? Um, and there was this kind of friction between sales and marketing, which was really puzzling to me because I was like, we should be working together, but I think it's actually quite common. And
Oh, it's everywhere, everywhere, everywhere.
so you came from sales into marketing. Did you find that, like, it must have been a huge advantage for you because you've been out on the road to then go back and think more strategically, right?
Well, absolutely, and and it allowed me to get promoted very quickly. Like I was a marketing director in my late 20s,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I was very lucky to have that eclectic range of experience that allowed me to get promoted very quickly.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you use that now to help entrepreneurs because a lot of our listeners are business owners and entrepreneurs who are trying to grow their business, and I'm sure
Yeah.
they would love to pick your brain.
Sure.
So tell us a bit more about, I guess, one question that I usually ask is like, what's one of the big myths that you've come across in your line of work? What's the big sort of prominent myth out there that a lot of business owners are still following when it comes to their marketing that they need to get rid of?
The simple one is that it's easy to get customers. It's not. I'll tell you now, it takes work. It's hard work to get customers. It's hard work to promote yourself because I think a big myth, and even I've been infected with this lie, is that customers are easy to get. Just get your net message out there. People will come knocking on your door. And I found quite the opposite for me and my own business, my own life, Lauren, and our incredible listeners. For me, it's been a big grind. It's grinding away. It's keeping at it. And granted, I've been around for a while. I'm quite well known. Even for me these days, it's quite a challenge. It's never, ever been a walk in the park for me. And I think when you realize that it is hard, it makes it easier. I think a lot of people run a myth that sales and marketing is meant to be easy. It's one of the hardest things of running any business, I'll tell you, right? In my life, sales and marketing is the hardest stuff you'll ever do, right? And it's what most people struggle with, very much so.
So you're finding it hard to get customers. That's okay, firstly, and I completely agree. I'm the same. I think I don't think I've met someone who's telling the truth and says it's easy to get customers.
There's a lot of if I can interject, there's a lot of dishonesty out there. A lot of people, I'm the sort of guy that confess and tell the truth. I've had times in my business where I've made truckloads of money, and I've had times in my business where I've had really poor months, right? Just being honest with you, just being intellectually honest with you and the audience and everyone watching this, right? Very few people will admit that. I think the trend is, well, everything's awesome. It's all rainbows and unicorns and pixies and all that. But I actually like to tell the truth. And when you actually speak the truth to people, which I do, then people then feel safe telling you their truth, right? I know these things all the time. It can be very hard because what can happen is I've had months in my business, and no exaggeration, where I've had a record month, made more money than I ever had in my life. Then I have a crappy month, right? And it happens in my business. It happens in a lot of businesses. And I think when we're more honest about these situations, it's actually empowering because it enables us to take the necessary actions and set the necessary processes and moves to make it better next time, make it stronger for everyone.
And on that, Ed, can we talk a little bit about some of the things that, people out there who maybe they're going, I've had a really tough couple of months. My business is getting to the point where if I don't make a couple of sales soon, I'm going to have to go back to work. For the people out there listening to this going, help, throw me a lifeline. What would you say to them?
This is very important. This even happened to Elon Musk, by the way. So Elon Musk almost lost everything with Tesla, right? Big or small, all entrepreneurs will face moments where you're going to risk losing the farm. You're literally staring down into the abyss, right? And the big thing that I've learned, this is not so much marketing, this is more how nature works, right? Nature's a tough place, and what tends to happen is weaker species die off and stronger ones remain, right? So when you're in that position where you're literally looking into that abyss, that's where you really got to dig in deep and come up with new incredible moves. And this is the big thing that I found. And this is what I've done very well, and this is why I'm able to talk to you today, is that when you're staring into that abyss and you're dealing with that reality, the thing that's important is to get really focused on the business. And so, for example, putting out more content, making more phone calls, running more events, putting out more activity, more things you can do to bring in clients and great customers.
Yep. I think there's a lot of people that I've spoken to and seen where, they'll kind of go, I'm really struggling. I'm like, like we all struggle. And then they'll go, what can I do? And I'm like, so you're in, you make work mainly with professionals. Yeah. Okay. And, so how do you get leads, or how do you engage, potential customers? And there isn't really a structure in place for that. There isn't.
Well, the fact is there won't be any structure. The reason why they're in trouble is because there's no structure.
Yeah.
It looked like everything was awesome, then all of a sudden it went kaput. because they've never had any decent structure or a plan, or there was something faulty in what they were doing, and believe me, I've been here from personal experience, they put themselves in this position. And I'll just hang some of my dirty laundry to make this point, Lauren, and to our wonderful audience. I've had situations in my business where, and I know better, I shouldn't make this mistake, and I have, where I get so caught up in the day-to-day work, you're not keeping your sales pipeline full, right? And then what happens is that a lot of your work dries up and you got nothing coming out of your sales pipeline. And then you got to go into this massive overdrive, high stress marketing sales mode. And then you got to bring in a stack of extra work. And if you're not careful, you'll just repeat the violent cycle over and over again.
Yeah, yeah. It feels kind of like a roller coaster ride. Sorry, Ed, keep going. No, I was just going to say it's like one of those roller coaster rides, right? Like you kind of get all this work in and then you start doing that work, which means you've got no sales pipeline, which means you end up down here at some point.
I've done that, and I kick myself for it, right? And the thing that you got to remember is that what causes that behavior is lack of structure, right? Because, and the other thing is it also depends, and this is the hard thing about being a small business owner, is that you have to do everything. Because if you're busy doing work, it's not that we're lazy, it's just that, well, we're busy doing work, we don't have time to do all the marketing, therefore we enter this feast and famine cycle. So the big thing, there's several things here. The other key thing is you got to be able to build in as much process as possible. So when you get a new client, if it takes you lots of work to look after a new client, you're always going to be having some form of feast or famine. So it's very important that you have great processes, a good team, whatever your business structure is. So when you get a new client, it doesn't take you too much time to onboard or look after that client.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of consultants I've spoken to who they start from scratch every time they onboard a client. And I did that like really early on when I started my business, which wasn't that long ago. It was like 3 years ago, but it was like every slide deck was a new slide deck, there was no onboarding process. And I do think that it just takes time to get all your ducks in a row, right? Like it does.
Yeah, and then also staying to it. The biggest I think lesson I've had in business, especially lately, is that you got to. So the whole sales funnel, right? Of course you do. But just for the sake of the audience, you have your sales funnel. I'll also for the benefit of the audience. I know you know this, Lauren. You have your sales funnel. The top of the sales funnel is sort of your top level activity, like your content, your videos, your SEO, your events. Everyone's seeing you. Then as you work into the sales funnel, these are the things to nurture clients, like your live webinars, your meetups, whatever you're doing, right? You're nurturing. The point is that you got to keep the top of your sales funnel full at all times. So even if you're busy and flat out, you got to keep the top of your sales funnel full, because if you do not, what can happen is that sales funnel can run out and you can get in a lot of trouble, right? Which I've done before many times. And so the thing is, you got to run your business and look after it, but meanwhile you got to keep the top of your sales funnel full. So there's a lot of work just going through. So there's always a good stream coming in. So it's so very important.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree. I don't have anything to really argue with you about, Ed, or push back on you about.
You should just call me ugly or say, all right, or I shouldn't support Trump, or call me a racist. You can call me racist.
I actually have to, one of the things that really I think is like this double-edged sword about, things like this, like social media and Facebook and YouTube. And I was telling you before this, I just got this YouTube comment on one of my videos that actually like really bothered me,
Yeah. You got trolled.
I got trolled, and I was like, what? I need to get a thicker skin, and I was kind of being really hard on myself, and I was like, but I think it's like on one side you have this like, what do they call it? Like the polarizing kind of viewpoints. You have, oh, I'm part of this team, therefore I'm not part of that team. And like, teaming is huge. Like marketers use it all the time, right? We go, how do we get people to team up on the side of our brand? But I think also, to me, one of the things that's been so great about podcasting and like you're saying before, like events, webinars, like things that you're doing really actively, Ed, I think it's actually about bringing people who are really different together, right? And it's like, I think that's the opportunity that social media and these conversations provide. where, you know, it's okay to not agree on everything. Like, we don't all have to agree about everything, but I am always very respectful to my guests.
Yeah, yeah. No, just call me a racist or a Nazi.
And Ed, like,
the fact that I'm not white and my wife's Asian, just call me a racist to everybody.
oh, some of the stuff you see, I just think, I'm like, would you say, the test is like, would you say it to someone's face? You know, like, the stuff that you're putting down on social in a conversation, like, would you say this to someone's face? But
Well, it's funny you bring that up actually because I work out. Um, I'm almost 6 feet tall. I can be a pretty intimidating guy face to face, right? Even though I'm a friendly guy, I can look very intimidating because of my background and all that sort of thing, right? And what's interesting is that I had a very funny experience actually recently at the business chamber.
mhm.
So what happened was I had someone try and take advantage of me, right? I won't bore you with the detail. I don't want to. I'm not here to name them and shame, but I'll tell you the basic point. They basically tried to take advantage of me, and I wouldn't play ball, and they just went nasty on me and unfriended me on LinkedIn and Facebook. Just the typical throwing your toys out of the pram sort of stuff, right? And I thought, oh, I'm not interested. Like, it was quite, because I actually helped them out a lot for free. This is the insult to injury. I actually did a lot of stuff for them, and that was the way that they paid me back. So it's quite a mean way of sort of, looking after me, right? It's quite mean. Now, what's interesting about that was that I actually bumped into them last week at the business chamber, right? And I didn't know what they were going to do, right? And again, I'm at the business chamber. I'm there to be civil. I'm not there to cause trouble, right? I'm actually part of the team, so it's my job there to be civil. And they just acted like everything was fine, like nothing freaking happened, right?
Yeah.
And to me, that was the ultimate test because what it was that it's that keyboard warrior side. So this person behind the phone and behind their PC felt very tough, but when they're face to face with me, they just caved and just pretended like nothing happened, right? And like even like the person's female even tried to kiss me on the cheek, and I sort of politely dodged it, and it was just crazy. It's just insane how some people respond like that. And I think what's very important is, and I actually don't get trolled. It's interesting actually. I was talking about this before. I actually don't get trolled that much, which is weird because, like on LinkedIn, I get seen at least 20,000 times a day on LinkedIn now, right? I'm literally, I got a reach of at least 20,000 times a day on LinkedIn. What's fascinating about this is I very rarely get trolled, but when I do, when I bump into these people in the street, they're very nervous. They're very, very, very worried because at the end of the day, trolls are weak, because I don't troll, right? Trolls are weak, often narcissistic sort of people, and they're basically losers. There's nothing going on in their lives.
Yeah.
And they're ugly and dumb.
It's sort of like, I think it seems to me like teenagers doing it, sort of like, okay, that's, you know, there's teenagers.
It's very high school behavior.
It's very high school behavior. That's what I mean. But you've got like 50, 60, 70-year-old, 30, 40, 20, like people that are adults. Sorry, I've gone off on a tangent, but I'm quite passionate about this.
I think it's a reasonable tangent, Lauren. I say it all the time. It's quite a serious issue. One of my friends actually is an American. I won't name who he is, but he's a great guy. He is different, right? He's very alternative, right? He's got like the cap on. He's very out there. He gets trolled like crazy on LinkedIn. And he was so upset a few weeks ago, he's about to delete his LinkedIn account. He's like a massive influencer too.
Yeah.
And I actually spoke to him, sort of talked him back from the ledge, and it's sort of like, listen, friend, you know, I actually sort of helped pull him back from the ledge. Because what's interesting, I suppose, Lauren, is that it can be quite hard because I'm used to being abused, so it's very hard to troll me, right? It just won't work, right? But for some people who aren't used to it, it can be very, very emotionally disturbing.
It's like for me, like talking from personal experience, like I feel like, you know, over the years I've kind of learnt to have a pretty tough skin, and I think, you know, part of being in business, like sometimes I've had people say, just because I've been like, oh hey, can you not do, like, just for me, I'm just like a boundaries person, right? So I'm like, oh hey, like, you know, I'm not comfortable with this or something. and then people go like, oh, didn't mean to offend you. And I'm like, no, you didn't offend me. Like, I just like to have certain, boundaries that are healthy.
Sure.
And, for me, that feel right for me.
Absolutely.
But people get so worried about offending. And I'm like, no, I'm not offended. But with the trolling stuff, and I think for me particularly what hits me is it's when someone's they've taken it like they've made a snap judgment about your whole character based on 60 seconds, and it's kind of like, you don't know me, you don't, and I think this is what a lot of people feel, right? It's like, well, you don't know me. But what I've realized and what I found has really helped me is going like, what this person's saying has absolutely nothing to do with me. They don't know me. Everything that they're saying is about themselves. It's like, I'm just a trigger to what's going on in their life.
If I can disagree,
Yeah.
I'm actually an old troll. I'm actually a gamer, old gamer, right? I've trolled before. I'm the biggest troll out there. I'm actually a very good troll.
Evil!
Right? But I'm a troll for good, right? Anyway, but I'm actually a troll, right? Not anymore, but I used to troll a lot, especially in the Obama years, right?
Yeah.
Obama years.
Okay.
That's actually not what it is. Trolling is more someone having fun. So trolling is all about the person saying something to get a reaction out of their target. So it's not about necessarily even about them. It's about more their entertainment.
Okay. Yeah.
So a troll, I'm not saying a troll. I mean, of course, I'm condemning trolls here, right? And I've done some things that I'm not completely proud of either. But the thing is, it's more done as a means of entertainment for them.
Yeah.
That's why I'm going to say something to this person regularly. And the solution for trolls is you just delete their comment and block them.
Yeah.
The saying is, don't feed the troll. Just delete and block. So actually a troll, I actually don't get trolled much considering how much exposure I've got. But I actually get trolled about 4 or 5 days ago. And just delete, it was on LinkedIn, just delete the comment and just went and block the person.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Actually, the other one I've gotten on LinkedIn before, Ed, and there might be some listeners who've experienced this too, is I've had people connect with me and then start going like, oh, like, you're really good looking and like, I'd love to like take you out sometime. Are you married? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like going like, this is a professional platform. Like, so weird. Especially like when you get the, are you married first question. Like, are you married on LinkedIn? I've just connected with you. I'm like, isn't that what we have Tinder for? Like, am I wrong in thinking like, this is not appropriate, or like, is it just?
It happens. I suppose what it is that it's a matter of talking more business on LinkedIn. The thing that I found is very important on LinkedIn, it's very important to be selective of who you connect with. So for example, I get added about 50 times a day on LinkedIn. I'll only accept about 10 to 20 of them.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Because if someone looks like a fake profile, or like, what I don't like on LinkedIn is when people just hit connect. If someone sends me a message that's real, I'll engage with it and I'll probably add them. If people are just hitting connect randomly, I connect very sparingly.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Okay. Because I have the kind of like, well, I don't get anywhere near that amount of requests as you do, but I do get quite a few requests, and I'm kind of like, I've gotten to the point where like what I'll say to people, like, for I always connect with people who listen to the show, and so I'm kind of like,
why wouldn't you?
Yeah. So it's like, just let me know why you're connecting. But if sometimes people will connect and I'm like, oh, their profile looks interesting, and I'll kind of write back and be like, oh, like, I can see you do this, like, can I help you, or like, what can I do for you? But there are a few that I think the telltale signs are like when it looks too stock imagery-ish on their profile. Their names are kind of like a bit,
Yeah, it's a fake profile. You know that. It's pretty obvious.
It's like, but it is funny, isn't it? Because you do. Like, I was trying to think of how to articulate it, but you kind of look at it and you go, that's fake.
Fake profile. Yeah.
So, Ed, we have to wrap up in a minute, but before we go, how Can I just ask you, because I'm sure if I didn't ask this question, I feel like people would be like, why didn't you ask this question? Like, how did you become so big on LinkedIn? Like,
several answers to that, right? Several answers to that. The first thing is, right, is I'm very good at using LinkedIn to connect with people. So as I meet people in the real world, at the business chamber, I'm very quick to add people, okay? Um, the second point, this is the interesting point, is if you look, and I invite everybody, anyone listening to this podcast, please add me on LinkedIn. Just say you saw this podcast, and I'll accept you, right? So please add me on LinkedIn. When you actually look down my posts on LinkedIn, I put out a lot of content during the day, and really good content. And I've spent a lot of time working on it. So I put a lot of content out on LinkedIn. I've really listened to what people say. So I'm getting really strong at creating strong LinkedIn content. I know LinkedIn, I've just done so much of it, it's working. So I share at least 5 videos a day, just simple 1-minute videos giving tips to help people. And they've taken off, right? They've taken off. It's been absolutely life-changing.
Yeah.
And then the third point is as well, is that I'm very interactive. So as people add me, I'll send them voice messages. I'll talk to people. I'll invite them to live webinars. If something's going really well, if someone's liking and commenting on my stuff, and I feel like they could be a client, I actually just ring them up.
Yeah.
I'll get their number off LinkedIn and say, hey, well, I rang up Jimmy today, for example. Hey Jimmy, if you're listening, I just rang up Jimmy, had a good chat with him.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, this is really good. I'll become a client soon once I get my new training budget approved by my manager. Awesome.
Yeah.
So again, 3 things. So connect with people. 1. Number 2, share great content. And number 3, personally interact with people.
Yeah, it has to be personal at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. And what I invite people to do to make it meaningful, what I encourage everyone to do is please friend me on LinkedIn, and go to and look at what I do, look at what I put out. I guarantee if anyone looks at what I put out, within a minute you'll know exactly what I'm up to in my strategy. It's very easy to dissect what I'm doing in a simple minute when you actually see it for yourself.
It's a really good point, that one, Ed. I had Shay Rowbottom on the show a while back, and she's quite big on LinkedIn in the States. And she said a really similar thing. She's like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel with content. Just look at what someone's doing who's really good at it, and like do the same thing. It's not like rocket science. You can just kind of learn from them. So,
and the trick of content, and no one likes this, but it's true, the content must flow, because at the end of the day, you have to be putting out content every day.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to take off as a content creator and become an influencer online, you have to have daily content. You have to. There's no way around it, right?
Yeah.
And the content has to be good, and it has to be frequent.
Yeah.
So right now I'm in the process of actually restructuring my business. So originally what I'm doing is I'm building my business more in an online workshop sense. And for that to occur, I need a lot more marketing to make that work out. And so for me, I'm putting out so much more content, running more webinars and all that type of thing. And so I've had to up that to make everything work in that regard, which is great. So again, encourage everyone, look at my LinkedIn feed. Again, you'll know in under 60 seconds exactly what I'm up to.
Good advice. Everyone, just do that. Pretty simple. So, Ed, obviously, to find you on LinkedIn, just look up your name. So Edward Zia.
Yeah, it's a rare name. I got an easy rare name, which is good. So.
And how else can people find out more about the work you do?
Oh, like best thing to do is just add me on LinkedIn. Google my name, add me on LinkedIn. Get in touch, check me out.
Awesome.
Read up about me.
Fantastic. Well, Ed, thank you so much for your time this evening. I really appreciate it. Love to connect with you in person soon. You're not too far away, so I'll be heading up in the next few weeks so we can actually meet face to face.
Sounds really good, Lauren. Thank you so much. Before you go, I just want to take a photo of the screen just so I can post it on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Do it.
Okay, so just smile, nice and bright, and I want to smile too. Hang on. There we go. Let's put my WeWork cup in it. Okay, Lauren. Nice big smile.
Okay, all right, I'm smiling.
Best photo ever. I'll show our audience.
All right, do it. Yeah. Oh, it looks so different on your end. I actually didn't realize that that's what it looked like.
Yeah, I was like, I'll post it after this. And this is my Samsung S10, and the device I'm using is the Surface Pro 4 from Microsoft.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Good. There you go. So you married, Lauren? Yeah. Yeah. I'm Lauren. Yeah, I'm married.
I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I need one of you now. Doing it the other way. We should just do a whole show where I'll hold you up and you can hold me up and we'll pretend to be each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, Ed. Thank you so much again, and I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your night now.
Pleasure. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Lauren. Thank you for watching. And of course, God bless your hearts. And I love your work.
Thanks, Ed.